Okay. How many of you in here could use more funding for your dream business? A few people? How many of you have all the funding in the world and have some to give away? Oh, I didn't have any on that. We have one over here. I need to go see you. Access to finance and funding can be challenging, but there are opportunities, and we do have lots of great institutions that want to help businesses to fulfill their dream and to be able to provide products and services that make an impact. So we look forward to having a little bit of discussion about what resources there are when it comes to access to finance and funding. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Rupa Iyer for this panel discussion.
So good morning again. Access to finance and funding. This is our first panel of the day. And so you want to start a new business. What are your different resources, opportunities? So we have a great panel here today. And I will let our panelists introduce themselves, their name, and the organization they belong to. So let's start with.
Good morning. I'm Linda Williams. I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm out of our Dallas-Fort Worth District office, and all of this area is in our district, so it's good to be here.
I'm John Powell. I'm with USDA Rural Development.
Trent Tidwell with First Financial Bank here in Stephenville.
Fantastic. So let's dive into the very first question that's common for all of you, probably around 3 minutes to respond. So briefly describe your organization and what role does it play in rural economic development?
The U.S. Small Business Administration is a federal agency, and our whole focus is on business. We were founded actually 70 years ago on July 30th, so we're celebrating our 70th anniversary, and we play the role in lending. Our loan programs are actually administered through our lending partners, and we provide basically a guarantee. Some of the programs work a little bit differently, but we guarantee funding so that that lender is protected when they lend those funds. Small businesses are pretty high risk, especially on lending. It's important, and first 2 years are very critical. That's where SBA steps in, is when you're working with the bank and they want to lend to you, they think you'll pay it back, and they think you can pay it back, but they need a little help getting over selling this to their own lending committee. So we can come in with that guarantee, but the decision is with the lender on whether to go forward with a loan or not.
Thank you.
USDA Rural Development is the federal agency that handles rural areas. We are strictly rural. If you were to compare us to a bank, our portfolio is about $231 billion nationwide. Last year, we funded over $31 billion for rural economic development. And we have programs that range from home ownership to home repair in rural areas, 100% financing, no down payment. We also do community development. We have programs that are specifically geared toward public safety, public service, public health. We do infrastructure, utilities, water, wastewater, broadband, telecom, solid waste. We have financing programs for all of those areas. And then also our last part is business ownership, business financing. We have loan guarantees similar to SBA, but we only go in the rural areas to do those. We also have revolving loan programs we set up across the state so that if a small business just needs a small amount of funding, we have mechanism in place for that. And then we have some grant funding that I can expand on a little bit later for renewable energy for small businesses.
So First Financial, we are a $13 billion bank. We are publicly traded. We've got 80 locations throughout Texas, stretching from the Panhandle down to the coast. But a lot of the communities we serve are rural communities. And so, we play a vital role. We get involved in our communities. We help a lot of small business owners. We do a lot of business financing, helping small business owners start businesses, help them expand their business. We offer lots of loan opportunities from consumers for their home mortgage, their vehicles, to business loans. And whether that's financing their property or helping them get started with a business loan or different types of financing that they need. So, we really strive to be a community bank and help the small business owners in those communities that we serve.
Awesome. So our second question is, what financing options does your organization have for small business in rural areas?
Well, we do have a lot of programs that are available in rural areas. None of them are specifically for rural areas. We don't finance agriculture, that's USDA, but we help in two different areas. Before I was talking about our lending through our lending partners for small businesses that want to start and grow. We have another arm too, when you talk about rural areas, that specifically benefits rural areas in the case of a declared disaster. The governor could declare it, the president could declare it, and in those cases, we have programs to not only help businesses, depending on how the declaration is made, we can also go in and help individuals and families in a time of disaster. So it's a little bit of a separate arm. We're now pulling everything together. But it's good to know about that if you're in an area and you feel that this might be a disaster. We do economic recovery too, as well, not just physical damage, but economic as well. So you would be hearing things on the radio and in the newspaper and hearing our announcements about it. But just remember, we're out there, sba.gov/disaster. If you think, I don't know, this may be a declared disaster, you can look it up at any time and even apply online.
Rural Development has a loan guarantee program that is pretty much where we're talking about business financing. That's where we send most of our customers. They're going to partner with a local bank or a statewide lender or a nationwide lender. It doesn't matter to us who their lender is, but we always ask that they start local, start with who they know, and then work from there. We can guarantee up to 80% of that loan, and that helps that's a credit enhancement. It helps with small businesses being able to attain financing where they might not be able to qualify for that commercial loan through their lender. We also set up some relending funds across the state. We have a couple of programs. I have a rural business development grant that is for economic development corporations or nonprofits that specifically are looking to lend in their rural area, but maybe the clients they're looking for don't need $1 million. Maybe they only need $20,000 or $30,000 to fix an HVAC or for small business of any type of purpose that fits the small business definition. They can go to those lenders and get funds fairly quick. It's an easy process for them to apply. But we work with economic development corporations all over the state to set those funds up so that when someone calls, we try to find out where they're at and then help them attain financing through different sources. And then the other thing that we do, we have one grant program that will pay right now up to 50% for the cost of putting solar panels or renewable energy sources or upgrading their energy efficiency. So if you had an old convenience store and you need to upgrade lighting or HVAC or something like that, right now this program will pay 50% of the cost to make those upgrades.
So at the bank, we offer a a variety of different business type loans, depending on what the business owner needs. You know, if you're looking to expand and you need a loan for equipment, a loan for vehicles, we can offer term loans to finance those. If your business is seasonal and maybe you need a line of credit to help you buy inventory and cover expenses in the off season as you're ramping up and getting ready for your busy season, we can offer lines of credit for that. If you're maybe just needing an operating line of credit to help with the timing difference between collections of your accounts receivable and your payables, we can offer a line of credit to do that. As far as maybe you need a loan for your real estate, if you're wanting to purchase or own your office building or the property where you operate out of, we can offer term real estate notes to cover that. And then also, as a bank, we can offer, you know, business credit cards just for everyday needs if you may need a business credit card. So we've got lots of different types of options to help small business owners.
Thank you. So the next question is, if someone were interested in the programs you mentioned today, what is the best way for them to get started?
Well, the best place to get started for a loan for your business to either start or expand, or you just heard about working capital described. A lot of business owners, they don't think of how much working capital they really need to pay bills when they're due. So those are some options, but where you start for that type of loan is really the best place is where you currently have accounts. And you need to establish relationships with lenders. And you need to think about how much money you need way ahead of time. You don't want to run out of funds and then no one wants to jump in your boat that has the hole in it and water is about to sink you. So, but that relationship with that lender is critical. To find a lender, you can go on our website. We have Lender Match. It's a tool at sba.gov /funding. You'll see it, and you can enter your need for a loan. But I want to back up one step in all of this. You must have a written business plan that talks about how much funding you need, what you need it for, shows your financial, maybe it's projections, maybe you've got 2 or 3 years of history. That's great, but it needs to be fine-tooled before you really sit down with that lender.
For rural development, one of the things, if you're interested in the programs that we offer, stop by our booth, take our card, go online, rd.usda.gov, and we'll be glad to connect you with someone who can help. We have offices throughout the state. I think there's 25 offices that can assist with that. And we often say, a lot of people come in and want to know, well, who do I choose for a lender? It doesn't matter to us, but we always say, like Linda mentioned, go with who you know first. And then we can also help you connect with other lenders. If for whatever reason your particular bank is not interested in financing, we can help you locate another one.
Well, you know, much like Linda said, a good starting point is building that relationship with your bank and your banker. Building that trust where, you know, your bank knows you, knows your business, you know them, getting that relationship going and started. And, you know, as you get prepared and come in to meet with a banker, like Linda said, have a good written business plan. Be prepared as far as what do you need the loan for? And where are those funds going? How are you going to use those funds? How are you going to secure the loan? Do you have collateral to put up? What's going to be your security to offer the bank for collateral for that loan? You know, have a current balance sheet and profit and loss statement available. And then, you know, if you're an existing business, have historical data, you know, 2 years tax returns, a balance sheet for the last couple of years. so that you can go in and show what your company has been doing with your banker. Backing up, you know, if you're a startup and you've done that and you've worked with your bank for a couple years, then you've started that relationship. And providing that information to your banker every year helps them build that relationship with you where they know you. Then when you need financing and you come in, you don't have to provide a lot of information at that time because your banker already has that. They already know you, know your business, and they can process a loan a lot faster because they know what you've been doing and they've already got your historic data. You know your business, know your numbers. You know, what is your revenue? What is your expenses? If you're looking to grow, what are you going to do to grow that revenue? And what's it going to cost you to do that? What are your expenses? How much are your expenses going to go up? You know, if your business is successful, what's making you successful? What's working? You know, if you're struggling, why are you struggling? Where do you need help? Do you need to cut expenses, cut costs? What are those factors that you can go in and sit down with your banker to go over? Maybe ask for guidance, ask for help, point out, here's where I'm struggling, here's where I need help, what are your suggestions? I would say know your credit. As a business owner or as a consumer, anytime you're going in to get financing, credit is very important. That's what bankers are going to look at first is what kind of credit do you have? What's your credit history? Do you have good credit? If you've got bad credit, why? You know, maybe what's caused that? Do you have some collections, some delinquencies? Have you struggled here or there? Maybe you've got fraud on your credit report. Continually monitoring your credit is very important. There's lots of resources to do that now. You can go online and a lot of credit card companies offer that. Our mobile banking for consumers, if you've got mobile banking with your checking account with our bank, you're able to enroll and look at your credit report anytime you want. So there's a lot of resources available out there for you to stay on top of that and monitor your credit. And that's going to be very important throughout your life anytime you're needing financing. You know, how are you going to repay the loan? You know going into your meeting with your banker of, you know, what's my primary source of repayment? How am I going to pay my loan? You know, if that's not working, what's my secondary source of repayment? What's my backup plan? And then, you know, as Linda touched on, projections. What are my projections? What are my business looking like over the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? Where did I come up with those projections? You know, did I just pull them out of the sky, or hey, this is why I'm thinking I'm going to do this in the next 24 months, in the next 36 months. So where's that information coming from for your projections? And then last, I would say, you know, what's your succession plan? As a small business owner, you know, you own the business is on you. So what happens to the business if something happens to me? Do I have life insurance for my family to cover that, for my estate? What's going to happen? And then you're going to want to retire at some point. So what's your plan there? All those things help establish and build that relationship with your banker so they know you, know your business, and you know them.
So great, building relationships, you know, knowing your banker, knowing the information on the program, that's a great way to start to access to finance and funding. But what if I do all this and I was denied funding? So what do you do then?
I'm so glad you asked that question. That might happen to you. Number one, you need to know why you were denied. And it's probably related to the fact that you may not have been prepared for that meeting with your lender. SBA has resource partners to help you. In fact, we have a small business development center here in Stephenville at the university. We also have an organization called SCORE, and they do a lot of free counseling virtually online. Even if there may not be a counselor right here, you can go to score.org and look for any across the country, actually. I recommend you find one in Texas. But they can help you. It may also be with your credit. There may be some things that you can do with your credit. And you may want to access one of our micro lenders because they do some financial counseling They can help you build up to being what we call bankable. It might take 6 months, might take less than that, but it's there, and they can help you with maybe a small loan to then build up to seeking funding from a regular banking institution, a for-profit. So, at any rate, that's what you can do, and it doesn't mean it's the end of the road for you. It means you've got an opportunity right there to find out what it was and pat yourself on the back. You got in front of a lender and asked for a loan. 70% of small businesses never get in front of a lender, and the number one reason they fail is because they're underfinanced. They have enough to open the doors, not enough to keep the doors open. So pat yourself on the back. If you get denied, at least you asked for a loan. And use your banker to help you as a resource. Why were you denied? And does that banker have recommendations for you as well?
And I would echo the same. A couple of things that, like we've mentioned, we have some revolving loan funds out around the state. Some of those non-traditional lenders may be able to take on a higher risk than your bank, and so that may be another source of funding. It just depends on the situation. If it's a credit issue, or if you need to build credit, then starting small and working your way to a bigger loan would definitely be something to look into.
Yeah, and I would just echo the same thing. Sit down with your banker, ask, why am I denied for the loan? Is it based on credit? Is it based on maybe lack of cash flow, lack of collateral? What's the reasoning behind that? And work with your banker. As bankers, we don't like to turn people down for loans, and it's never personal. There's a reason there for whatever it may be why we're unable to make the loan at that time. And we don't want to say we can't make you a loan. We just maybe can't help you at this time. And let us work with you to figure out, okay, here's the reason. What do we need to do to get there, to get to where we can approve you for a loan? Maybe 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, whatever that time frame is. We want to work with you to know, to help you get to that point, because that's our ultimate goal, is to help small businesses, help small business owners get the financing they need, and what's it going to take to do that. And so, again, that kind of goes back to building that relationship and building that trust. And then, seek out help outside of your bank if you need to. Ask for help from a consultant, or, if you know other business owners that you're friends with and their business is doing good, sit down and ask them, hey, what makes you successful? What are you doing that works? And, maybe I need to do that, and get some guidance wherever you can. But certainly the USDA, as they talked about, and SBA are certainly options for that as well.
So before I open the floor, I'm going to ask one question, and I think one of you can answer this question. What's the difference between a grant and a loan?
Big difference. That's our number one question, I think. I'd like to have a grant. A grant is something you were given for a specific reason. They're hard to get because they have to fit the need of that grantor. Why are they giving those funds? A loan is something that you will pay back. It's an obligation, and you will pay it back. A lot of business owners start with asking for a grant. You're most likely to find the additional funding in addition to your personal funding through a loan. Anybody want to add to that?
And I'll just add, some of the federal grants do have some strings attached that if you don't obey the exact requirements of the grant, they'll require you to pay it back. So. Mm-hmm.
And some also have matches, right? Matching funding, so you have to put sort of a collateral. Okay, I do have some more questions, but I'm going to open the floor, and if anyone, please feel free to ask all your questions. We have some time, so Mr. Rollins there.
Hello. I was just wondering, what are the current interest rates and the projected foreseeable future of those, and if you have fixed interest rates such as federal loans, such as FAFSA, or is yours fluctuate with bank loans, personal loans?
I have an answer, and I'm sure the others do as well, and that was a very good question. A lot of the business loans are variable rate loans. Our 7A program is our flagship program, and that lender can make a fixed rate loan, but it's probably going to be variable. We have one loan program that's actually a combination of a conventional loan from a bank supplemented by a 504 loan, and those are fixed. The 504 portion of that debt is fixed. But just remember this, on interest rates, we'll have a range that lender can charge in our programs, but just remember that the interest rate is risk rated for that business. Every business is risk rated. And it's not like walking in for a consumer loan at a bank and wanting to know what's the interest rate on a new car. It's very individualized, and I'll let the others join in on that one. That was a really good question.
Sure. So on our guaranteed program with rural development, we can have either a variable or a fixed rate. It just depends on the loan. As far as where the interest rates are, we ask that the lender on that program charge a customary interest rate, not exorbitant. Sort of like SBA, we've got some limits and guidelines in place that if we see something that comes, it's way out of line, we're going to work on that. But for our revolving loans, those rates are actually set by that economic development company. And sometimes those rates can be much lower than your market rate, than your going bank rate.
Yeah, and with commercial loans, the rates are going to vary depending on what type of loan it is and the structure. When you're looking at equipment or lines of credit or real estate, there's a lot of different terms. Real estate are longer terms, equipment working capital loans are shorter terms, and so rates are going to vary a lot depending on the product, the collateral, and what the loan is being used for. But typically, most commercial loans are variable, and again, that adjustment period changes depending on the product and the collateral and what the fund's being used for. So there's lots of different options there.
Yeah, where's a good place for us to find grants, and is it kind of recommended to have someone to hire to go search for the grants, or like a grant writer, or where are we able to find the grants at? Where's a good website?
We have one at grants.gov for the government, but be ready to be doing a lot of research, and they're very specific. That's not just for businesses, but it's a pretty broad field there. I think the state of Texas is probably a good source to where to search as well. Maybe the governor's office has had some grants from time to time. Anyone else want?
You can also search our website, rd.usda.gov. We have loans, grants, loan guarantees, but there's a long laundry list of programs that we offer.
So if I may add to that, we are also in the business of getting funding for the university. What we do is sign up for alerts at their websites. We go to the website and we look for specific programs. So when the agency announces that program, you'll get the alert. So that's one way, because if you go through the website, I'm sorry, there are zillions of programs there, and you can sit there and not know anything. So, but if you sign up for the specific program they're interested, they will send you an alert. And maybe that's one of the ways we could do that, right? Okay. Any more questions?
So y'all are mentioning risk. When it comes to some of these smaller communities that are trying to open, individuals trying to open businesses, what would y'all say are some of the more risky projects to seek out a loan for, and what are some of the less riskier jobs that people are looking to open?
I'll say, we're not the direct lender on these loans, but restaurants can be high risk, and you're financing equipment that has a very short lifespan. So that could be it. But each lender is a little bit different of what, they'll have a sweet spot and what they see as risky. But just being a brand new business, that's high risk. And so you've got to get a pretty convincing story together. And when I say story, I've had people come out and go, story, shouldn't it be the truth? Of course it's the truth. But you've got to be able to give your message and why you're not the risk that others are. And that's where free counseling with our resource partners or finding a mentor maybe through the chamber can help you. But that's my answer, and I'm sticking with it.
Well, certainly, as Linda said, any startup can be risky. But, you know, you look at the business owner, are they relying solely on this startup? Is there outside income that they have that they're not going to have to use that can help service the debt, help start this business? What kind of capital do they have going into that? What type of collateral? Maybe they've got other collateral and capital resources outside of what this business is. And so we look at a lot of different factors to try to mitigate and judge the risk on what that's going to be for a startup. But again, you know, any startup, you've got to get into business. You've got to have a good business plan, as we've already talked about, to know accurately of, you know, what do I feel like my capital startup costs are going to be, my expenses are going to be until I start generating the revenue to support that. And so, you know, it's kind of project specific depending on what the project is, but certainly there's a lot of factors that we look at there.
I guess this is aimed at John probably more. What is considered, or is there criteria that's considered rural? What is rural or what's not considered rural?
Sure. Depending on the program, generally, if populations of 50,000 and under are considered rural by most of our programs. Now, we have some specific ones that have lower population standards, but in general, for most of our programs, rural is defined as a population of less than 50,000.
Hello. So the banking, what about VA? Do you guys offer anything special for veterans? I know there is a Veterans Administration, and I'm really surprised there's not a veteran on that panel up there, or somebody from that organization. Is there any special funding through banking here or through any of your organizations for veterans?
I can say on the SBA loan programs, we don't have a loan that is specifically for veterans. They do benefit veterans. Depending on the program and when you're seeking it, there may be some waivers of fees for veterans. We do have a Veterans Business Outreach Center, not too far away. It's at UTA, but they reach all over the state, and they know of others lending programs too for veterans, and the state of Texas has a veterans office as well. But our programs do benefit a lot of veterans, I'll say that, and but not just specifically a loan program for only for veterans.
And USDA is the same way. We don't have any specific programs geared toward veterans, but anyone is welcome to apply.
Yeah, great question. And on the bank side, on the commercial side, again, we don't have anything tailored specifically for veterans on business loans. We do on consumer home mortgages. There are some options and products out there for home ownership. We certainly work with a lot of veterans and certainly support our veterans and appreciate their service and work with them. But as far as a specific commercial product, we don't have any tailored just for veterans.
Some of our lenders do have programs, though, specifically for veterans. We do have at least one micro lender that had for years a special rate on their loans for veterans, but it's an individual thing. With lenders, you're probably more apt to see something specifically for a group, maybe with a mission-based lender, a nonprofit. But there's a lot of funding for veterans out there through the programs that we do offer everyone. It was Lift Fund. I don't know that they still have that, but I would guess that, and People Fund. Those are our two major micro lenders. People Fund is here today, and definitely that's a first place that a lot of businesses go is with our micro lenders. And our micro loan program is just up to $50,000, but they have other loan programs. Some of them go up in the millions, and they have other SBA loan programs as well. So I'd check over at the People Fund booth, see if they have a program specifically for veterans. And I've just been confirmed by our district director, who you will see later today, that is true. They do have one for veterans, so check them out.
Okay. We have one more question.
This is just to piggyback off of his question. Whenever you're referring to populations of 50,000 under considered rural, is that like countywide, citywide? How does that necessarily work so that way you know, some people have businesses that are outside of city limits, that are in a small community, so on and so forth?
Sure. So what we have a property eligibility website on that we can plug in an address and see if they're eligible. But when we're talking about 50,000 or less, we're looking at incorporated cities. So if you're in an unincorporated area, it's considered rural. We just have to look at that property eligibility and make sure that we're within that rural area.
So one more question before we...
Yes, it's my understanding that sometimes funding will trickle down from at the federal and state level to economic development projects in local communities. Do you have any suggestions on how maybe local businesses can get on the radar to be part of those type of higher scale regional type projects?
One of the ways is, I think, just contacting our office and letting us know what you're looking for. And if we know of a project that we can help plug you into, or if we have a fund that's available in your community, we'll certainly let you know.
Okay, thank you. That was very informative, and I hope you also found that very informative, and you will hang around for a little while, I suppose. So if you have more questions, you can ask them during networking time. I would really sincerely like to thank our panelists for joining us today.